My sister-in-law, Emily, demanded the money I had painstakingly saved for my unborn baby's hospital expenses. She insisted I hand it over, completely disregarding the months of sacrifice Logan and I had endured to ensure our child's future. When I refused, her anger erupted. In a shocking act of rage, she lashed out, kicking my 8-month pregnant belly. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. As a sudden rush of fluid drenched me, I realized in horror that my water had broken. Panic gripped me, the room spinning in a blur of chaos. Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm 30 years old. I'm 8 months pregnant with my first child and my husband Logan, and I couldn't be more excited. These past months have been a whirlwind of preparations, from setting up the nursery to attending parenting classes. Amid the excitement, we carefully saved $20,000 to cover potential medical expenses for our baby. We wanted to ensure every precaution was taken to provide the best possible care. We live in Denver, Colorado, and Logan's mom, Grace, has been a pillar of support throughout my pregnancy. Since Logan's father passed away, Grace has shown remarkable strength, her warmth and encouragement a constant source of comfort. She's eagerly anticipated becoming a grandmother, helping in countless ways from offering advice to making my favorite meals. Logan and I are deeply grateful for her. But not everyone in Logan's family has been as supportive. His older sister, Emily, has been a source of tension for years. She's struggled with infertility, a painful journey I sympathize with deeply. However, her frustration often turns into resentment, particularly toward me. Her comments, veiled in casual tones, sting with passive-aggressive undertones. To avoid confrontation, Logan and I time our visits to Grace's home to when Emily isn't around. Despite the challenges, I've tried to focus on the joy of our growing family. This pregnancy is a blessing, and I refuse to let negativity overshadow it. But I had no idea that one visit to Grace's home would unravel into a nightmare. We had planned a relaxing afternoon at Grace's, enjoying her homemade apple pie and taking a break from the hustle of baby preparations. But upon arriving, we were surprised and unsettled to find Emily already there. Her tight-lipped smile was followed by a biting remark. "Still milking this pregnancy, huh? Must be nice to sit back while everyone else works." My heart sank, but Logan stepped in protectively. "That's enough, Emily," he said firmly. "Hannah's 8 months pregnant. She's hardly sitting back and relaxing." Emily feigned innocence with a shrug, but the damage was done. Grace tried to steer the conversation toward lighter topics, but the discomfort lingered like a heavy cloud. A few days later, I visited Grace alone, hoping for a peaceful, uplifting chat. Instead, I was met with another tense encounter. Emily was already there, scrolling on her phone. She barely acknowledged me, her tone cold as she muttered, "Oh, it's you." I ignored the unease and sat cautiously. Emily eventually set her phone aside, her demeanor unusually serious. "I need to talk to you," she said. "What is it?" I asked, bracing myself. Her words hit me like a slap. "I need the $20,000 you saved for your baby's medical expenses." I stared at her stunned. "Emily, that money is for my baby," I said, my voice trembling. "We've been saving for months to prepare for any emergencies." Her expression hardened. "You don't even know if you'll need it," she snapped. "Meanwhile, I'm drowning in debt from fertility treatments. Family is supposed to help each other, but you're being selfish." "I'm sorry for your struggles, Emily," I replied, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. "But I can't give you that money. It's for my baby." Before the argument could escalate, Grace entered the room, her cheerful expression fading as she sensed the tension. "What's going on?" she asked, looking between us. "She's asking for the baby's medical fund," I explained, my voice trembling. As I fought to stay composed, Grace's expression turned to shock. "Emily, that money is for Hannah and the baby. You can't ask for that," she exclaimed, disbelief coloring her voice. Emily's face darkened, her tone bitter. "Of course you take her side," she spat. "Everything's about her now, isn't it? She's your favorite." "Stop it, Emily," Grace said firmly, her voice growing more authoritative. "This is unreasonable." The conversation spiraled into a heated argument, but I stood my ground. I refused to let Emily guilt me into giving up the money meant for my child's health. What I didn't expect was how far she'd go next. Emily's anger boiled over as her voice grew louder, her accusations cutting deeper. "You have no idea what I've been through," she screamed, her eyes wild with fury. "Do you even understand how hard it is to watch someone else live the life you'll never have?" Taking a steadying breath, I tried to remain calm. "Emily, I'm sorry for your pain, but this isn't fair. I can't give you the money. It's for my baby, I said, my voice trembling but resolute. Emily's face twisted with rage, her words venomous. You don't deserve any of this, she hissed. You're just a spoiled little gold digger who got lucky. Emily, this behavior is unacceptable, Grace interjected, her voice trembling with frustration. Before I could respond, Emily's fury erupted into action. She lunged at me, her movements quick and deliberate. In an instant, her foot connected with my abdomen in a sharp, forceful kick. The pain was searing, and I gasped, clutching my stomach. Time seemed to slow as agony racked my body. Then came the sudden, horrifying rush of fluid. My heart sank as realization hit me. My water just broke, I whispered, my voice quivering with fear. Grace's scream pierced the air. What have you done, Emily? She cried, rushing to my side. Her hands trembled as she tried to steady me. Hannah, stay with me. I'm calling an ambulance. Emily froze, her face pale as she backed away. I didn't mean to, she stammered, panic and regret mixing in her voice. I didn't mean for this to happen. The pain was unbearable, each breath coming in short, desperate gasps. Grace gripped my hand tightly, her voice breaking with emotion. Help is on the way, Hannah. Just hold on. As my vision blurred, Emily's frantic excuses faded into a distant echo. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was Grace's terrified face, her hand never leaving mine. When I woke, the sterile smell of the hospital and the rhythmic beeping of monitors brought me back to reality. Disoriented, I instinctively reached for my stomach, only to feel its emptiness. Panic set in as I realized my baby was no longer inside me. My baby, I rasped, pressing the call button frantically. What happened to my baby? A nurse entered moments later, her expression calm but concerned. Mrs. Hannah, you're awake. Please try to stay calm. Everything is under control for now, she said gently. Where's my baby? I whispered, tears filling my eyes. The nurse placed a comforting hand on my arm. Your daughter is in the neonatal intensive care unit. She's stable, but premature. She'll need time to grow stronger. You both went through a lot, but the doctors acted quickly. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly overshadowed by anger and fear. My baby had come into the world far too soon because of Emily's recklessness. I resolved to recover as quickly as possible so I could be by her side. Logan entered the room minutes later, his face a mix of relief and rage. He rushed to my side, gripping my hand tightly. You're awake, he said, his voice cracking. Thank God. Our little girl is fighting hard. She's strong, just like you. Tears streamed down my face as he continued, his tone growing resolute. But Hannah, what Emily did, we can't let it slide. I've already contacted a lawyer. She needs to be held accountable. I nodded weakly, the weight of everything sinking in. She nearly took everything from us, I whispered, my voice breaking. I don't know how we're going to move forward after this, but we can't let her get away with it. Grace visited later, her eyes red from crying. Hannah, I'm so sorry for what happened, she said, her voice heavy with guilt. Emily crossed the line, and I'll do whatever I can to help you. I reassured her it wasn't her fault, though the damage was done. My focus now was on my daughter's recovery and ensuring Emily faced the consequences of her actions. Grace looked torn, and while I wanted to comfort her, my emotions were too raw. All I could think about was my baby, fighting for her life in the NICU. 2 days later, while I was still recovering, Emily walked into my room unexpectedly, her husband trailing behind her with an uneasy expression. Emily's face was a mixture of defiance and something resembling remorse, though it was hard to tell. I came to apologize, she began, her tone flat and insincere. I didn't mean for things to get out of hand. I stared at her, struggling to contain my anger. You kicked me, Emily. I almost lost my baby because of you, I said, my voice cold and steady. Emily rolled her eyes, waving a dismissive hand. It wasn't intentional, she said, her tone defensive. I was upset, okay? But I'm here to make things right, Emily said, her voice defensive. We'll cover some of your medical bills. How about $5,000? Before I could respond, Logan entered the room. His expression was dark, his anger barely restrained. $5,000, he said, his voice low and cutting. You risked my wife's and my daughter's lives, and now you think you can buy your way out of it. Emily's husband stepped forward, hands raised in a placating gesture. Look, we're just trying to resolve this without dragging it out, he said. Logan turned his cold, unwavering gaze toward him. This isn't something you can fix with money. What Emily did was assault. There are going to be consequences. Emily's composed facade cracked. "You're all overreacting," she snapped, her voice rising in frustration. "I had a hard enough time as it is, and now you're punishing me for one mistake." "One mistake," I said, my voice trembling with fury. "You put my baby's life at risk. This isn't about your struggles, it's about your actions. You could have killed her. You don't get to walk away from that with a check." Realizing we wouldn't accept her offer, Emily stormed out, muttering about how unreasonable we were. That evening, Logan and I filed a police report against her for assault and reckless endangerment. Grace, horrified by her daughter's behavior, provided crucial evidence, security footage from her living room. The video captured everything: the argument, the kick, and my collapse. It was undeniable proof of Emily's aggression. As the investigation began, Emily denied responsibility, insisting it had been an accident. She claimed she acted out of overwhelming stress and frustration. But the evidence painted a different picture. I was determined to see justice served for my baby's sake. The trial began 2 months later. Emily arrived in court with her lawyer, her demeanor a mix of defiance and defensiveness. Logan and I sat together, resolute in our pursuit of justice. The security footage Grace had provided was the cornerstone of our case, clearly showing Emily's deliberate and reckless actions. Her lawyer argued it was a misunderstanding, claiming the kick was unintentional and born of emotional distress. "It was a moment of poor judgment, not malice," he said. But the prosecution presented additional evidence, including Emily's history of hostility toward me. They played footage of her yelling and lunging at me during the argument, which further undermined her defense. When Emily took the stand, her composure unraveled. "I was pushed to my breaking point," she cried, her voice rising. "You wouldn't understand what it's like to face constant failure." Her emotional outbursts only hurt her case. Outside the courtroom, during a legal meeting, Emily lost her temper again and threw a cup of coffee at me. Thankfully, it was cold. The incident was reported and added to the charges, further demonstrating her lack of control. Emily's behavior spiraled as the trial continued, solidifying the severity of her actions. The verdict was swift. Emily was found guilty of assault and reckless endangerment. She was sentenced to 6 months of probation, ordered to attend anger management classes, and required to pay $50,000 in damages. This amount covered my medical expenses, our daughter's extended NICU stay, and compensation for the emotional distress her actions caused. Hearing the verdict, I felt a wave of closure. Emily was finally held accountable, and justice had been served. Logan squeezed my hand, and I knew we had taken an important step toward protecting our family. With the trial behind us, Logan and I decided it was time for a fresh start. The stress of the legal battle had taken its toll, but we found relief in knowing Emily had been held accountable. We moved to Austin, Texas, a city we'd always dreamed of living in, to create a safe, peaceful environment for our family. We changed our phone numbers and limited contact with relatives who tried to mediate on Emily's behalf. Grace supported our decision wholeheartedly, though it broke her heart to see us leave. She promised to visit often and stayed in touch as we settled into our new home. Meanwhile, our baby girl continued her fight in the NICU, growing stronger each day. Logan and I spent hours by her side, talking to her, holding her tiny hand and cheering her on through the incubator glass. She became our symbol of resilience, a reminder of the strength we found in ourselves during this storm. After 2 long months, we received the news we'd been waiting for. Our daughter was ready to come home. The day we brought her home was one of the most profound moments of my life. Holding her in my arms, feeling her warmth, and knowing we had made it through together, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. As I looked at Logan, our daughter nestled safely in his arms, I knew this was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, healing, and love. An overwhelming sense of gratitude washed over me as I cradled Lily in my arms. We have faced unimaginable challenges, but we had emerged stronger and more united. With Emily's actions now behind us, we could finally turn our focus toward building the future we had always dreamed of, a future of peace, love, and family. As we began our new life in Austin, I felt a deep sense of hope. The pain and shadows of the past no longer defined us. Instead, they stood as reminders of the strength we had found within ourselves. Lily's name was carefully chosen, a symbol of purity and new beginnings. Each night as I rocked her to sleep, I was reminded of how precious life is and how fiercely we had fought to protect her. Though echoes of Emily's actions lingered, they no longer controlled our lives. Logan and I were determined to create a future filled with joy and positivity, ensuring that Lily would grow up surrounded by love and peace. With each passing day, the scars of the past faded as we built a new chapter of hope and resilience. In the months that followed, our lives settled into a gentle rhythm. Logan and I poured our hearts into raising Lily, celebrating every milestone with profound gratitude. Her resilience inspired us daily, reminding us of the strength it took to get here. Meanwhile, Emily faced the full weight of her consequences. The legal fallout strained her relationships with family and friends. Many distanced themselves, appalled by her actions. Financial struggles compounded her difficulties as she worked to pay the court-ordered damages. Isolated and burdened by debt, she eventually left Denver to start over in another city, cutting ties with most of the family. Grace, ever supportive, kept us informed sparingly, respecting our decision to maintain distance. Though heartbroken by Emily's choices, she stood firmly by our side, understanding that protecting our family was the priority. For me, the journey was not just about physical healing but also emotional recovery. I often reflected on the trials we had endured, how they tested my strength, my relationship with Logan, and my determination to protect our daughter. The ordeal was painful, but it taught me the value of standing up for myself and my family, even when it meant difficult confrontations with those closest to us. Our new home in Austin became a sanctuary, filled with laughter and love. Logan and I focused on the present, letting go of the shadows of the past. We surrounded ourselves with supportive friends and built a community that embraced us wholeheartedly. Together, we explored the beauty of our new surroundings, creating lasting memories and forging the peaceful life we had always envisioned. Every moment with Lily felt like a gift. Her smiles, her tiny hands gripping ours, and her determined spirit reminded us of how far we had come. One quiet evening, as I rocked her to sleep, I whispered a promise. I would always fight for her, no matter what challenges life brought. She had come into this world under the most difficult circumstances, and yet she was a living testament to our family's resilience and love. Though the scars of the past would always remain, they no longer held us captive. Instead, they became markers of transformation, proof that we had emerged stronger, more unified, and ready to embrace the bright future ahead. Logan and I worked every day to ensure that Lily would grow up in a home filled with love, security, and endless possibilities. We stayed close to those who had supported us through the darkest times. My bond with Grace deepened. She remained a source of comfort and wisdom, always ready to listen or share her insight. She had seen the worst of what had happened but never wavered in her love for us, becoming an enduring pillar of strength in our lives. As Lily grew, so did our dreams. The life we were building was more than just a recovery from the past. It was a celebration of the family we had become. Every step forward felt like a victory, and every moment together was a treasure. Our journey was not just about survival, it was about transformation. Out of the ashes of the past, we had created something beautiful, something that would inspire and sustain us for years to come.